In the heart of Rome is the Vatican Library, one of the oldest libraries in the world. Among the hundreds of documents stored in humidity-controlled vaults here are the earliest references to a book written by a Greek intellectual called Celsus, or as others say, Celsus. Celsus was living and writing at the same time as most of the authors of the Gnostic Gospels. But whereas the Gnostics quite liked Jesus, or at least their version of him, Celsus had no time for this pretender. His criticisms have been widely published.
Celsus makes at least two controversial claims about Jesus. Here he says that Jesus is the illegitimate product of his mother's affair with a Roman soldier named Pantera. His birth, in other words, was highly suspicious. And as for Jesus' reported miracles, mere Egyptian sorcery.
Having tried his hand at certain magical powers, Jesus returned from Egypt and, on account of those powers, gave himself the title God.
Being written late in the 2nd century, it's difficult to know how much historical weight to give the claims of Celsus. Nevertheless, his comments do give us a good idea of how the Greek intelligentsia of the 2nd century viewed the reports about Jesus. Not very well.
Just as scornful is the reference to Jesus in Tacitus, the greatest of ancient Rome's historians. He published his famous Annals of Imperial Rome in about AD 114. Most of what you and I learned in high school about the Roman emperors, Caligula, Nero and so on, comes from Tacitus. What he has to say about Jesus and his followers is not so flattering, referring to Christianity as a deadly superstition and an evil well suited to Rome.
Christians derived their name from a man called Christ, who during the reign of Emperor Tiberius had been executed by sentence of the procurator Pontius Pilate. The deadly superstition, thus checked for the moment, broke out afresh not only in Judea, the first source of the evil, but also in the city of Rome, where all things hideous and shameful from every part of the world meet and become popular.
Tacitus was hardly a fan, but his disdain for Christianity didn't prevent him from accurately relating a few salient details about its founder, when and where he lived, that he was known as Christ, and the circumstances of his death.
A near contemporary of Tacitus tells us something else about the Christians. In AD 110, Gaius Plinius Secundus, Pliny for short, is stationed in northern Turkey. He writes a letter to Emperor Trajan asking whether he should keep executing the followers of Jesus.
The sum total of their guilt or error was no more than the following. They had met regularly before dawn on a determined day and sung a hymn to Christ as to a god.
Pliny's letter confirms that by AD 110, and probably much earlier, Christians were worshipping the man Jesus as divine.